Hello, today I'm doing something a bit different. Well, it's actually quite different than the other videos I made. Although I'm still creating characters for Crown and Skull. This time it has come to the Queen, the Liza Minnelli Queen. Last time I created the cat assassin, the henchman of the Queen. Very athletic, acrobatic ninja assassin. This time I'm going to create the Liza Minnelli Queen. Of course, she needs some other name. I'm going to create her using Crown and Skull, of course, but this time I'm also using some tarot cards from the game Kult Divinity Lost. And this is the Game Master Guide called Beyond Darkness and Madness. I haven't really read it, but in the end of the book there's the tarot card supplement, which is also free on a PDF, but they included it in this book using the Cult Tarot. I haven't done this before, so I'm quite excited about it. So the book suggests putting the cards down like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then turning them over in that order as well. And it also suggests using it for different things, for individuals, locations, cults, plots, creatures, and artifacts. And then it has some descriptions for the different cards. And this time, of course, it's an individual. And the first card, which is this one in the middle, it describes the core characteristic of the individual. And then the next card is supposed to show something from the past that shaped the individual. Card 3, the ambition or drive of the individual, and stuff like this. So I think I will start with this, and then I will put it into Crown and Skull after that. So I'm turning the first card over. It's Skulls 5. Then I'm turning to the pages with the descriptions of the different cards. The Minor Arcana. Skulls 5. Transition. Transition represents the crossing from life to death or into another form of existence. And for individuals, and we have to remember that it's card number 1, so it's the core characteristic of her. For individuals, it says, methodical and well-prepared hitman, executioner who barely can keep it together, trauma victim hovering between life and death, nurse with a god complex, porn star with an asphyxiation fetish, seductive death magician. These are just some ideas. So it means that she's somewhere between two realms of existence, maybe between life and death, between dimensions. I think it means that she's, of course, in this physical state of being. She's a person, but then she's also pulling her magic or dark arts or occult tricks or whatever from this other realm of being, the immaterial world, where she also somehow exists. And maybe her consciousness is hovering between the physical world and the spiritual world, or she's somehow aware of this duality. So the one that caught my eye was seductive death magician. She's definitely some kind of magical person. So next up we have the second card, Skulls 4. Maybe I didn't shuffle this deck very well, but well, Skulls 4 is Spirit. Spirit represents the psyche, the immaterial essence, and the machinery that changes the divine soul. Of course, in Kult Divinity Lost, everything is an illusion. The real world is an illusion created by some divine machine that keeps mankind in some kind of matrix-ish illusion world, so they won't escape it and discover their own divinity. That's why it's called Divinity Lost. Card number 2 is supposed to be something from the past that shaped the individual. So for an individual, it says sophisticated medium with a rich clientele, girl in the suburb who sees ghosts, scientist who tries to photograph the spirit world, conjurer of spirits living in an abandoned train, possessed child kept tied to the bed. How does this relate to the past? It kind of makes sense that this is a past, the spirit world and the psyche, the immaterial essence, stuff like that, and that the transition is later in life. So I thought about this: possessed child kept tied to the bed. She might have been some kind of spiritually awakened child with some kind of strange powers, which she then learned later in life to control, maybe. Next up is card number 3, an ambition that drives the individual. So what is she up to? What's her plan? What's her drive, her ambition? What does she want? And that's card number 3. Oh, skulls 3. Interesting. So 3 says remnants. Remnants represents that which has been left behind after death, destruction, or transition. And for individuals, it means pragmatic archaeologist, eccentric descendant, soldier from a dissolved military unit, hobo living in the junkyard. I don't think she wants to be a hobo living in a junkyard. This is actually quite difficult because these are all examples of someone left behind, like a soldier left behind by this dissolved military unit that doesn't exist anymore. Or a hobo left behind by society, maybe. An eccentric descendant. The last of the descendants, maybe, also left behind by his family. How do I turn this into a drive or an ambition? Maybe she wants to leave behind this world. She wants to ascend to some higher state of being, maybe. She wants to turn her back on this world. Interesting. Let's see what we have in card number 4. Oh, what a surprise. Card number 4 is the individual's greatest weakness. And skulls 2 is forgetfulness. Forgetfulness represents that which has faded from memory. It is strongly connected to the cycle of rebirth and the oubliettes of forgetfulness in Metropolis. So, I haven't read all of Kult, so I'm not that strong in remembering what Metropolis is. But it doesn't matter in this world, in this Crown and Skull world, because this is just about forgetfulness. She is forgetful. It's a good weakness. So now let's go for the last card. Oh, something different. Roses 2. So card number 5 is the individual's greatest strength. And Roses 2 is birth. Birth represents what comes out of passion, the start of something new, a soul merged into flesh. And for an individual, it could be a strict midwife, depressed mother, newborn in an incubator, newborn baby, proud godfather, teenage parents, desperate baby kidnapper. So something about birth. Maybe she is pregnant. She has somehow reached the power to give birth by will alone. And maybe she gave birth to her henchmen and servants. Maybe that's her special power, that she can give birth to many people. She can somehow pull the spirits out of the spirit world and put them into flesh, into being, into existence. So she's actually the mother of the cat assassin and the hunter. And the blue guy. Now we need to find some other name for her. She's not supposed to be called Liza Minnelli Queen forever. For this I use the Knave rules, or the Knave book, 2nd edition. It hasn't arrived as a book yet, so I only have it on PDF. 2. Aqniz. Aqniz. Great name. So her name's Aqniz. Okay, so now I have this character defined by some concepts, and now I want to create some spells for her. First, I actually printed out some pages from the upcoming Knave 2nd edition role-playing game, but it wasn't really satisfying, although I might use some of the tables later on, maybe. I don't know. But I was thinking about some kind of area of effect spell that can that has something to do with the core characteristic of the character. And her name was Queen Aqniz. I think actually it should be Aqniz with a Q. Aqniz. It should have something to do with a core characteristic about transition between physical and spiritual world. It should of course have something to do with her past as a very spiritual child with some kind of occult powers. It should also tap into this greatest strength of birth she has, but should then also activate her weakness of forgetfulness. So an area of effect. That's the first one. And the second one should be a targeting spell. Targets one subject. The area of effect spell about birth. That's very abstract. How could that somehow make sense? Maybe if we consider birth as life growing, life multiplying, then an accelerated form of birth or life accelerating would be overgrowth, overbirth. So it should make the enemies grow rapidly. I was thinking about making enemies give birth, but that's very weird. But more like life growing, not just in the stomach of the enemy, but life growing everywhere in the enemy. All cells, all parts of the body just growing in random directions and speeds, like in the Akira movie, with the main character growing strangely. Something like that, maybe not that scale, but something similar to that. And everybody inside this area is targeted by this. Everything grows inside this area. That means actually everything inside the area grows, and that could be plants, animals, mushrooms, all kinds of living things that are not sentient or not that are not human, not intelligent. Because bigger mammals like human beings or animals like horses, everything bigger than a dog basically, should maybe not be affected by this, but stuff like roots in the soil and flowers and plants, birds, insects, frogs, everything should grow and become bigger and mutated and growing rapidly, and of course under Queen Aqniz's control. So they kind of become her children. She makes life inside them grow and somehow adopts them with her mother instinct, and they should see her as their mother and do whatever she pleases. Okay, so area of effect spell called like rapid life growth or birth, because maybe it can also make some beings give birth suddenly. Maybe there's a cat that gives birth suddenly to a lot of small kittens that suddenly grow and become bigger, stuff like that. And then the other spell targeting just one individual could be this big growth I talked about in the beginning, which makes one living being, be it an animal or a human being, grow in all kinds of speeds and directions and polymorph and mutate in all kinds of strange ways, maybe even according to some random table about mutations. So I think that would be the other spell. Okay, so now we have to find it in the book. So now I think I've created it. Both spells. The first one, the area of effect spell. I added one cast so it can be cast twice before it must be restudied, which costs 3 points more. The duration is 1d6 phases as standard. And the effect is everything grows or gives birth inside this area and is under the caster's control for 1d6 phases. The range is area, so that's +3 cost, and targets multiple targets inside this area, that's 3 more. So this costs 12 points. The other one, rapid overgrowth, just hitting one target, has one cast until it has to be studied. It has a duration of 1d6 phases, just like the other one, and the effect is overgrowth, which deals 1d6 damage to the victim. It is ranged, which costs 3 more, but it targets only one single enemy as standard. So that's 3 for the spell and 3 for the ranged effect. So that's 6 points. But I also wanted to include this weakness of hers, the forgetfulness. So I looked at the spell limitations list on page 42 and it says, Madness. Each time the spell is cast, roll your magic skill. On failure, take the crazy flaw until your next rest. I will take this but modify it. So instead of taking the crazy flaw, if she fails this magic skill test, she forgets, which means she forgets something. It could be a skill, maybe just a random skill. She forgets how to do something randomly, or one of the spells. So then we've included this forgetfulness weakness in the spells. It makes them both 3 points cheaper. So now this is only 9 points, and this is only 3 points. So all in all, these spells are worth 12 of her points. So I put the first spell over here. Area of effect, everything grows, 9 points. All inside arm's distance area, grow and come under Aqniz's command for 1d6 phases. And rapid overgrowth, single target overgrows rapidly for 1d6 damage, ranged. And then she has the lion, of course, which is 12 points. It attacks with d8 damage, which is, of course, scratching and biting. It has a defense of 9 and the 3 skills attack, protect, and frighten. All 9 skill points. So that's 21 skill points spent already. And then, of course, she has some skills. Stealth, because she has a cloak, which also gives her 1 more defense. She doesn't have that much stuff. Then she has magic 7, knowledge 6, courtier, I don't know how to pronounce it, 6, animal training 6 because she has a lion. And then I think she's got 1 point left, which I will just leave. Or maybe not, actually. No, actually that's all her points. And that's it. That's the Liza Minnelli Queen. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe if you want.